Hello, this is Dr. D, and today we are going to talk about sex-linked inheritance. All right. So, what is sex-linked inheritance? Let's study this. All right. So, normally both male and female humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. We should know this. Okay. But however, X-linked genes are found on the X chromosome, right? And the Y-linked genes are found on the which? Y chromosomes. All right. So here, what do we know? The X-linked genes that are found, there are about 2,000 genes that are on the X chromosome. And there's no matching gene, of course, of these genes on the Y chromosome. All right. For the Y chromosome, there are about 200 genes that are located on the Y chromosome. All right. All right. For the X-linked traits, a male always receives the X-linked allele from his mother, from her X chromosome. So, you know what? It would be logical to think that a sex-linked trait is passed from the father to the son or mother to a daughter, but this is not always true. Okay. So, why? Because we just said for X-linked traits, a male always receives the X-linked allele from his mother, from her X chromosome. All right. The Y chromosome does not carry the allele for the trait. Remember, we are talking about X-linked traits. All right. Most X-linked genetic disorders are recessive, right? So here, females must receive how many? 2 recessive alleles, 2 faulty recessive alleles to have the disease. 1 from each parent. Keep that in mind. Whereas the males, they, if they have a faulty one, here's the recessive one, it's with a lowercase b. So here, they will have the disease, all right? Because they don't have the homologous X. Are you understanding what I'm saying? All right. So moving on further, when examining the X-linked traits, the alleles on the X chromosome is shown as the letter attached to the X chromosome. All right. So here, for example, we can see the X has normal vision, and here has the color blinded because this is the faulty allele. All right. So this is a well-known X-linked recessive disorder. Color blindness is very, very well known. A female which has this, which is of this genotype, she is going to be a carrier. You understand why? Because look, her one allele is the dominant allele will not allow the recessive to express, right? So she's going to be a carrier. But in this case, this is going to be a female with color blindness. All right. So more color blinded males, we saw this, right? So here, as long as you have one faulty allele from the X chromosome, that's it. The male is going to be colorblind, right? So here is the genotype. Look at this. This has normal color vision, right? B is not the faulty allele. In this case, she's a carrier. Here, the female is going to be colorblind. In this case, the male has normal vision. And don't say carrier in this case, okay? But here, you can see the male who is colorblind. You see this, right? Now let's look at a sample in which we are crossing a male with the normal vision with a heterozygous female. Look at the heterozygous female. One has uppercase B and one has lowercase b. In this case, this is heterozygous, right? So if you are going to look at this, what is the chance? So here, this is my oocyte, and we are doing the Punnett square, and here's the male, right? So you can see that this is a what? A normal vision female. This, she's a carrier in this case. Here is the normal male with the normal vision. But here is the one, the male who's going to have the color blindness, right? So what are the chances that they have a colorblind daughter? All daughters will have normal vision because they inherit what? The XB, right? The X chromosome with the normal allele. This is from the father. You understand that, right? So what are the chances that they'll have a colorblind son? The son, they will have 50% chance of being colorblind. Can inherit. Why? Because the son can inherit XB, uppercase B, or X lowercase b from their mother. Are we understanding this? Okay, what is the pedigree for X-linked disorders? So here, Most X-linked disorders are carried on the X chromosome, right? We already know that because it's X-linked, right? So X-linked recessive disorder, there are more males than females will have the disorder. The recessive allele on the X chromosome is always expressed in males. We already know this, right? The X chromosome lacks an allele for the disorder. We also know this. Disorders are often passed from the grandfather to the grandson. So the daughter of the male with disorder are going to be carriers. Let's look at an example to help you. All right. Here is what are we looking at? We are looking at a normal female, and we are looking at a one with a grandfather who is affected, okay, who is colorblind or has X-linked disorder. Don't say colorblind right now. Okay, so has the recessive disorder. So what do we see with the grandson? So with the grandson, what we are looking at, or as we are looking at the pedigree, we are seeing that more males than females are affected. Okay, so here, then an affected son can have parents who have both the normal phenotypes. Yes. So here we can have a son which is both normal, right? But don't forget, one is going to be a carrier, right? For a female to have a characteristic, her father must also have it. Remember that, right? For a female to have it, so her father must have it, and a mother must have it or be a carrier. Okay, the characteristics often skips the generation from grandfather to the grandson. We can see that, right? So grandfather, we see it missed to the grandson. And if a woman has a characteristic, all her sons will have it. This also, if a woman has it, then all her sons will naturally have it, as in this case, right? Okay, X-linked dominant disorders, these are very few, very few are known, and affected males pass the trait only to daughters who have 100% chance of inheriting the disorder. Okay, females can pass the dominant allele to both the sons and daughters, causing the disorder. We know this. And if a female is heterozygous and a partner is normal, each child will have 50% chance of escaping an X-linked dominant disorder. Okay. Examples of disorder will be incontinentia pigmenti, and which causes discoloration of the skin. Color blindness is one of the most common X-linked recessive disorders, and it affects about 7 to 10% Caucasian males. So bright greens are seen as tans, reds as reddish brown. There are very few who cannot tell, a few of them, it's more extreme. They cannot tell reds from greens at all. So you're understanding it's very hard for them to drive. They can see yellow, blues, black, whites, and grays, but the reds are often confused with greens. Okay. Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This is a very sad disease, and it is characterized by wasting away of the muscles. This symptoms will include waddling gait, toe walking, frequent falls, and the muscle intensifies, weakness intensifies until the individual is confined to a wheelchair. Usually death by the age of 20 or at the max 30. The recessive allele, what happens is, remains in the population by passing from the carrier mother to the carrier daughter. And what it is caused by? It is caused by the absence of a protein called dystrophin, which causes the leakage of calcium ions outside the cell. And as the calcium ions leaks out of the cell, what happens is the enzyme that is responsible will start, which will cause, enzyme is released, which will cause the dissolution or breaking down of the muscle cell. And when the body tries to repair, what happens is the muscle is replaced by what? Fibrous tissues. Okay, and which will cut off the blood supply, cause the cell to die. So as you can see, here is the abnormal muscle. You can see lots and lots of fibrous tissues. This is the normal tissue. The next one, the third one that we are studying, is the Fragile X syndrome. And this is caused by abnormal number of cell repeat sequence in the genome. Okay, this is most common cause of inherited mental impairment. This will range from mild learning disabilities to severe intellectual disabilities. It may also result in some forms of autism. Males who also have characteristic physical abnormalities and especially long face, prominent jaw, large ears, excessively flexible joints, genital abnormalities are common facial features, less frequent and milder symptoms in females, however. Okay. And last but not the least of X-linked recessive disorders is hemophilia, which is also called the bleeder's disease. This is caused by the absence or minimal presence of clotting factors. There are two types of hemophilia. One is A and B, which you do not have to know right now, but it is caused by the lack of clotting factor 8. One is caused by the lack of clotting factor 9. And obviously, if the clotting factor is missing, what's going to happen? Blood is not going to clot or clot very, very slowly. So what happens is that they will bleed excessively after injury, and it can happen not only internally but also externally or at joints. What can it be stopped by? Again, transfusion of fresh blood or concentration of missing clotting proteins. Okay. Here is the a very, very famous case of the European royal family. The hemophilia ran in the family, and all affected males, especially the males, could be traced to the ancestry of Queen Victoria. Why? Because Queen Victoria was obviously a carrier. So she was a carrier. That's what we can assume. And Queen Victoria, before Queen Victoria, it was not seen. So obviously there was a mutation in here, all right, in Queen Victoria. So what we can see is all affected males could trace their ancestry to Queen Victoria of England. Of her grandchildren, 26 grandchildren, 4 grandchildren had hemophilia. Okay, so 4 of them had hemophilia. And it could be all traced because none of the ancestors were affected. Like I said, the faulty allele must have arisen with Victoria. So her 2 daughters, the Elise as well as Beatrice, so they must have been carriers because they introduced hemophilia in the royal members of Russia and Spain. So currently, we do not see hemophilia in the royal family, and because her oldest son, Edward VII, did not receive the allele. All right. So here is I think we come to the end of our presentation. Like I said, I thank you for listening to me. If there are questions or concerns, please reach out to me. All right. Have a good day. Thank you.